Previously on The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon.
Man, I must say, Laurent really is taking a liking to this singer now, isn't he? Like father, like son. And they run into a guy, he has kind of lost his marbles a little bit. It's a really unique setting for the episode. And it's probably the most unique setting for a Walking Dead universe episode I've ever seen, to be honest. Laurent actually is Quinn's kid. That was definitely the biggest bombshell of this episode. Man, I can't believe we have to wait so long for Dead City Season 2. Well, that was quick.
Hey guys, it's Dan, your host, your Dan's Reviews, and today I'm back for another video for The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, and in today's video we're going to be doing our weekly review for this week's episode. This one is for Season 1, Episode 4, titled La Dame de Fer.
Alright guys, this one's going to be doing a review today. This one's going to be doing a review for The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. And in today's video, we're going to be doing our weekly review for this week's episode. This is for Season 1, Episode 4, La Dame de Fer. So that transitions to, in English, translates to the Eiffel Tower. So obviously, very fitting title. We got a lot of stuff at the Eiffel Tower in this episode. In particular, probably one of the biggest, like fight scenes with some walkers we've ever seen before. So definitely, really, really cool stuff. But as usual, continuing with Daryl Dixon, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I might even argue that this is my favorite episode yet, to be honest with you, because I really enjoyed episode 2. That one probably was my favorite before this one, but this one is just like, I can't even get over. I can't get over how insane this episode was pretty much all the way through. So, of course, this is going to contain spoilers, so make sure to keep that in mind. But without further ado, let's get into this review. So, the episode starts off, we got a scene with Daryl where he is looking for Laurent. And you guys are going to have to kind of help me out with this one because honestly, on first watch, I'm not 100% sure what I'm supposed to interpret. Was this a hallucination or dream sequence and that really didn't happen? Or did Laurent really just step in front of a big crowd of the dead and not get eaten alive and they walk past him as he's praying? Because the scene felt real, but then it cuts to Daryl in the water after he fell off the roof. So I'm assuming that scene isn't real, right? I'm assuming like that's in like Daryl's head, right? Or that's a scene that's going to happen in the future. I don't know. I really don't know. But it was weird. He kind of prays and then the zombies just go past him, which is confirming that the kid is immune, right? But again, I'm not sure if that scene is 100% real. The way I interpret the scene is that Daryl is thinking of this when he's in the water, and then he gets up, he fights the zombie, and he's good, right? And, he just kind of gets out of there. But I don't know, that was a very, very interesting scene. And again, if that scene is real, and if that's something from the, future, that's going to be pretty insane. But, we've talked about it before, if this kid is immune or not, and, it looks like the possibility is still kind of there, from what it seems like, We know he's the Messiah or whatever, right? So, who knows? But there you go. That was a really, really intense opening scene. And I did like when Daryl fought that one walker in like the water too. I thought that was pretty gruesome. But then of course we get Daryl. He's walking through the streets. He runs into the one guy with the pigeons, right? And we've seen him. He's, of course the guy that is on the bike and he's got all these pigeons that he's collecting. And he's, kind of a nice fella and stuff. And anyway, Daryl's kind of asking for some directions and stuff. He's looking for Isabel. He's looking for Laurent. And basically some guys in some vehicles kind of pull up and they have to kind of like, get out of the way. And they take the pigeons from the guy's bike and the guy freaks out. He steps in front of their vehicle and he's like, no, please don't take my stuff, And the guys get kind of a little mouthy with him and basically, unfortunately, they end up shooting the old man and they end up killing him, right? So then Daryl has to step in. He gets in the vehicle. He, kills both of these guys and brutally murders them. And then basically, the man's dying wish is to set the, pigeons free, right? So that is exactly what Daryl does. They set them free. And the old man unfortunately dies, but it was a good send off for him, right? It was kind of sad. It was kind of kind of a sad moment, but I thought it was good. I thought it worked. fort. And, well, basically, we've got Daryl, right? And he's kind of going through. You got him. He goes to Isabel's old place, and he runs into her, and they end up kind of, sharing a hug and stuff. Definitely can tell that there's some stuff being set up with them for sure. And we basically get some scenes where Daryl is, kind of, walking along the city with her, and they're looking for Laurent, right? They're trying to find where Laurent went, and they all know that Laurent would have definitely gone to the Eiffel Tower because that's all the kid could talk about, right? So they go to the Eiffel Tower, and this is when we get a really, really major scene where they all fight off a bunch of the dead, and we get like a big friggin', fight scene. And I thought it was really amazing, right? Because he goes to the Eiffel Tower, might I add, amazing visuals. They designed the Eiffel Tower really, really great for this show. And anyway, you get Laurent that kind of hides under like a piece of metal or whatever while Daryl and Isabel take on this horde. And Daryl gives Isabel one of his knives, and then Daryl takes the Morning Star and just, flips that thing around and kills pretty much most of them, right? And unfortunately, then we get a scene where one of the zombies catches wind of Laurent under the piece of metal, and we think that, the zombie's going to eat him alive, and then somebody kills the zombie, right? And I was thinking at first, I was like, okay, there's Daryl, right? No, that's not the case. What actually happened is that, which we find out about this later, Quinn sent some of his men out there to go get Laurent and bring him to him, right? Because that's Laurent's father. So, of course, he is taken by these guys. Daryl ends up killing one of them and throwing them into the crowd of the dead. And Daryl almost gets Laurent out of the back of the vehicle, but unfortunately, Quinn's men does end up taking Laurent captive, and that's that, basically. So, the one guy they kill, right? Daryl kills one of them, but they shove another one out of the vehicle, and Isabel and Daryl take him for information and torture him, okay? So, this is probably one of the most gruesome scenes I've seen from Daryl in such a long time. Daryl had such, like, OG Walking Dead, like, charisma back. Like, I'm talking, like, Daryl in the barn beating up, Randall again. You know what I mean? Like, he really brought that side of him out this episode, and I just geeked out towards it. I'm not gonna lie. It was so freaking amazing to see him act like that. And he talks about how, it's like, he's gonna treat him like a pig, and he's gonna slowly kill him, and maybe stab him here, and, in the belly, and then stab him in the back, and then maybe stab him in the leg until he eventually cries and stuff, Oh, man, I just freaking loved it. I freaking loved it. Call me messed up. It's my favorite Daryl scene of the show so far. It's so friggin' good. Daryl did not give a frig, man. He just went all in, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So he stabs him multiple times, and then, of course, he still takes him with him to get information. And basically what they do, the attack plan basically goes down, is that Falou and, Sylvie and the rest of them, they're going to attack the entrance with Molotov cocktails and stuff and firing their guns and stuff. Meanwhile, Daryl is the one that's going to be able to slip in from the back through the secret way, and Sylvie and Falou will be the distraction so that Daryl can get in, right? And I really enjoy the scenes because you got a scene where the one prisoner, like, Daryl's dragging him around, right? And he ends up falling. And there's a whole bunch of the dead that are kind of coming towards him. And he's like, all right, fine, look, there's a door here. You can enter that way. And as soon as Daryl hears him say that, and there's a bunch of zombies coming in, he's like, all right, bon appetit, right? He friggin' walks in, leaves the guy for dead, and lets the guy get friggin' devoured. I mean, that was so damn good, man. Daryl just did not give a frig this episode, and I loved it. But anyway, he walks in there very, sneakily or whatever. He goes in there. And you've got Laurent now that, of course, is inside, so Daryl's trying to get him out. And there are a few minor scenes between Laurent and Anna that I definitely should mention where she's kind of sitting there and saying, like, look, I don't even really care if you're here with Quinn. I can see that you're not, you're not feeling right about this. You don't feel like you're at home really 100%. Like, I get it. And she says, like, I just want you to be in a place where you're happy. I don't really care if it's here, whatever, but, it is what it is. And, Anna definitely, I can kind of say, especially after this episode, yeah, she's a good person, you know what I mean? She was nice last episode towards Laurent. She's still nice to him towards this episode. And, well, Daryl goes in there and does get Laurent out, right? He tells him, like, come on, let's go, right? But here's the thing is that, yes, she points a gun towards them, but it's just to say, like, look, like, you don't have much time. I'm going to need you to get out of here, right? So I in my book, I think Anna's fine, right? I think she's definitely fine. I don't know if we'll ever see her again, but she's definitely a good character from what I've seen at least. We didn't see Coco this episode, but we did see Anna. So there you go. But Daryl gets him out. Daryl's getting Laurent out, and of course, it doesn't get stopped without of course, Quinn running into Daryl, and they're both on the banister, and they're both, on the railings or whatever, and they're both going to fight to the death, right? So we get a pretty intense scene between the two of them. Pretty amazing fight. I mean, Daryl, like, slams his head on the bars and, throws some punches at each other. They got some knives thrown. It was pretty freaking badass, not going to lie. It ain't no Daryl versus Beta, but I liked it. It was really intense. And, of course, one thing I'm very happy about, because I've said this before, I think Quinn as a villain has a lot of potential down the line, and I think that Quinn as a character has a lot more to offer to the story, so I am happy that Daryl spared him, but it's not unrealistic the way they do it, because he's looking at Laurent and he's like, all right, I'm not going to kill your father in front of you, you know what I mean? Like, I can understand why Daryl didn't kill him there, to be honest. Should he have killed him? Is it going to come back to bite him in the ass? Probably, but you're not going to kill a kid's father right in front of him. I don't care how bad the kid is. That's just not something you do. You know what I mean? And Daryl has a big heart, so we all knew that wasn't going to happen. But now we do have a few minor scenes that I guess I should also address, where we have Madame Ginette that kind of confronts some of Falou's people back at his community, and they're still trying to find, like, Laurent, they're still trying to find Daryl and stuff like that. There's a few scenes where they kind of investigate, like Quinn and stuff like that, but they're pretty minor this episode, but they do have, an appearance and stuff. So I think that's pretty good. There was, like, one scene where, like, you got the one baby that doesn't want to, like, stop crying and stuff. So Madame Ginette, like, takes her and, like, kind of gets her to stop crying. I'm not going to lie. Maybe I was the only one where my mind went this way, but I literally thought they were going to insinuate that she put the kid down. I'm not going to lie. Like, I thought they were going to go that far with her for a brief second. Let me know if you were the only one that thought that. Like, I really did. When she grabbed the baby, I was actually on the edge of my seat there for a minute. But yeah, so that was intense. And then basically towards the end of the episode, we get the end of the mission for at least Isabel and, everybody else. They're going to stay back with, Falou and everything that's going on back in, France and all that, in Paris and stuff. And Daryl is, of course, going to take Laurent, and they're going to go their separate ways. Daryl's going to get Laurent where he needs to go, and then Daryl will go back to the States. And I thought it was kind of an interesting scene at the end where you see, and maybe, again, I was the only one, right? Because every time I think of France, like, I think of the Eiffel Tower, right? I don't really think of the Statue of Liberty, right? But when you see the Statue of Liberty at the end, am I the only one that was like, wait a minute, how did Daryl get to New York? And then I was like, oh, okay. Like, for a split second there, I was like, holy frick, what the hell just happened, right? But yeah, like, I had to, because, like, the buildings looked the same, like, everything looked like Dead City, and for a minute there, I was like, what the frig did I just see? And then I was like, okay, duh, yeah, we got Statue of Liberty, another one in France, right? But yeah, that was, that tripped me out. I wasn't ready for that. I was not ready for that at all. I thought they were, like, doing, like, some kind of, like, montage where you just see them in New York all of a sudden. I was like, what the frig is going on here? You know what I mean? But yeah, anyway, that was that caught me off guard. I really, really did. But anyway, this was a fantastic episode. Daryl was at his all-time best in this one. The fight with Quinn was absolutely spectacular. The bond between Daryl and Isabel is so amazing. I just love it. I absolutely love it. The visuals were incredible. The torture scene with Daryl was incredible. Laurent and his stuff in this one with Daryl. And, I really I think this is my favorite episode. I really do. I think this is my favorite episode of the Daryl Dixon series so far. So post your comments down below. Definitely a great episode for me. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I had no issues with the episode. And I want to hear from you guys now. What do you guys think of it? So, if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed this video, make sure to click the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. Make sure to follow me on Dan's The Walking Dead Reviews on Instagram, guys. And of course, I'll see you guys really soon for more videos for Daryl Dixon. Enjoy the rest of the day, guys, and peace out.